I'd like to call this public hearing to order. I'd like to recognize and appreciate that we are holding this hearing within the traditional territories of Tichat and Nipissing First Nations. My name is Mike Sparrow, and I'm the director for Cherry Creek Buckfall area. I'd like to introduce you to the planning staff: Alex Dyer, planning manager; Wall, planning assistant; Brooke Eschuk, junior planner; and Jason Kivas, bylaw enforcement officer. This hearing is being held in the ACRD boardroom electronically by Zoom. It is being recorded and is live streamed on the ACRD website. Would staff please provide direction and instruction on how to participate in this hearing?
Yes, happy to. Thank you all for joining us here today. And if you are watching the live stream online and you'd like to join the meeting, the details on how to connect can be found in the Zoom meeting invite document that's linked on the public hearing page. I just want to quickly start off by highlighting some of the tools in Zoom if anybody's watching online, and also in the boardroom here to help you participate in the meeting. So if you are participating online, you have the option to turn on or off your video and mute your audio. We just ask that you keep your audio muted at all times until you've been asked to speak, just to keep the background noise down. There will be an opportunity to speak after staff introduce the application, and the applicants have the opportunity to present as well. So when the chair calls upon members of the public to comment on the bylaw, we ask that you either put your hand up or call out that you'd like to speak. Once you've been recognized by the chair, we ask that you state your name and your address followed by your comments. If you're here in the boardroom, you will use the microphone system that we have here at the table or at the podium. And you'll have to hit the silver button at the base of the microphone so those online can hear you. And when using Zoom, if anybody joins online, there is a chat feature as well that's accessed from the controls on your screen. If you have any questions or would like to make a comment at any time, feel free to use that. All comments from the chat section will be addressed by staff during the public hearing, and feel free to add anything that you think of as we move along. These comments will be brought forward as the chair asks for final comments. And for everybody, there will be an opportunity for final comments at the end of the public hearing to ask any final questions or make any final comments on the bylaw before we adjourn. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. The subject of this hearing are bylaws P1475, P1476, and P1483. These bylaws are applicable to 2787 Alberni Highway and are necessary to rezone the subject property to allow for a range of commercial retail uses. If you have any questions or comments about other unrelated topics, I ask you to contact Regional Civic staff after this hearing has been terminated. Would staff now like to read out the notice of public hearing?
A public hearing for proposed development in electoral area F, Cherry Creek, has been scheduled to consider application number RF 22013, bylaws P1475, P1476, and P1483. When Tuesday, April 16th, 2024 at 7 p.m., where electronic call-in or in-person attendance at the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District, located at 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC. What's this about? Property owner and applicant Evan and Angelica McClellan. The subject property is located at 2787 Alberni Highway and is legally described as Lot C, District Lot 135, Alberni District Plan EPP 30733. Bylaws P1475, P1476, and P1483 are necessary to rezone the subject property from Winery and Cidery WC District to Highway Commercial C4A District to allow for a range of commercial retail uses on the property. Bylaw P1475 is a Cherry Creek official community plan amendment bylaw to redesignate the property from residential use to commercial use. Bylaw P1476 is a zoning text amendment bylaw to amend ACRD zoning bylaw number 15 to include section 124A Highway Commercial C4A District. Bylaw P1483 is a zoning atlas amendment bylaw to rezone the property from Winery and Cidery WC District to Highway Commercial C4A District. The public hearing will be held by the Director for Electoral Area F, the alternate director, or the chairperson of the regional district. The board resolution making this delegation, copies of bylaws P4175, P4176, and P1483, and all relevant background documents are available for review at the ACRD office and are available as supplementary information on the ACRD website at www.acrd.bc.ca/seriously, Alex, /events/16-4-2024. Planning staff are available to answer questions in person, through email, or by phone during regular office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday from March 28th, 2024 to April 16th, 2024, excluding statutory holidays. Anyone who feels their interest in property will be affected by the proposed bylaws will be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard. You can participate in the public hearing in person, electronically, or by phone. Full instructions to do so can be found by contacting planning staff. In addition to participation, instructions are included in the supplementary information available at the same website. The public hearing will be conducted from the CRD office located at 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC. Written correspondence can be submitted to the ACRD by hard copy, delivered to the ACRD office in person, or by mail. Email sent to publichearings@acrd.bc.ca. Email submissions will only be considered received if receipt confirmation is provided by ACRD staff. Written submissions can be provided at the public hearing or in advance. Written submissions provided in advance of the public hearing must be received no later than 8 a.m. on March 28th, 2024, and no later than 4 p.m. on April 16th, 2024. Submissions provided ahead of the public hearing outside of these parameters will not be included. If you have any questions, planning staff are available to provide assistance during regular office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, excluding statutory holidays. We can be reached at Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Planning Department, 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC, B9Y2E3, by phone 250-720-2700, and by email planning@acrd.bc.ca.
Thank you for that. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive input, written and verbal, from any person who believes is in their interest in the properties affected by the bylaw. Members of the public will be allotted 5 minutes to provide their comments for the first time. We will hear everyone wishing to speak for the first time before allowing second comments. Each time a member from the public provides their comments, they'll be allotted a maximum of 5 minutes. The person can come to the speaker's podium as many times as required, provided the person is providing information not previously presented at the public hearing. The board of directors will receive the full minutes of this hearing before voting on these bylaws. Staff are taking minutes to summarize the issues raised. Please speak clearly to ensure accuracy. Would staff now introduce the proposal?
Okay, thank you for your patience with us. I'm going to start with the agency referral responses. So the responses that we've received on this application either noted that their interests were unaffected or recommended that the bylaws be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the responses. There are responses from the Cherry Creek Waterworks District, from Island Health, and from the ACRD Building Inspection Department. The Island Health response provided comments on drinking water, on sewage disposal, on the potential for the future construction of food premises on the site, and on vegetation screening. Now, copies of those agency referral responses are available at the back of the room in the boardroom here, and it's also linked on the website if you're connecting online. These responses will form a part of the public hearing report that will be considered by the board. There were also 5 letters of correspondence received during the public notice period ahead of the hearing. 2 of those letters express support for the rezoning, and 3 of those letters express opposition, general opposition to the rezoning. The support letters provide general comments for support, and the opposition letters include concerns about the impact on traffic and road safety, the impact on neighboring residential uses, and on neighboring property values as well. Now, copies of those letters are also available for public review, linked on the ACRD website, with hard copies available at the back of the room here if anybody wants to see it, and the letters will be included in the package that will be considered and voted on by the board. The proposal itself, so the property owners have applied to rezone the property. The property is about 1.37 hectares, which is 3.4 acres in size. The rezoning would rezone it from winery and cidery WC district to a new highway commercial C4A district to allow for a range of commercial retail uses on the property. The applicants previously operated a wine retail shop from this site. The bylaws were given first reading by the board on February 28th, 2024, at which time this public hearing was delegated to be held. The rezoning includes, as you've heard from Brooke's big speech at the beginning, included P1475, which was an amendment to the Cherry Creek official community plan, and that amendment would redesignate the property from residential use to commercial use. And there's also a zoning text amendment bylaw P1476, which would create the new highway commercial C4A district. Now, the C4A zone would be similar to the existing C4 zone that is applied to many of the other commercial properties along that corridor. It would allow for a range of commercial uses, as I mentioned, and these would include food products and general retail stores, restaurants, vehicle and boat dealerships, personal services, and one dwelling per lot. I will highlight that the proposed C4A zone would not permit gas stations or card locks or car washes or the sale of bulk petroleum. That was something that the board applied to that after receiving feedback from the Cherry Creek Advisory Planning Commission that gas stations would not be favorable at that site. The C4A zone would also have a 0.4 hectare or a 1 acre minimum lot size for subdivision, and a 10 meter or 32.8 foot minimum setback for buildings in the side yard and the rear yards. And those would be adjacent to the neighboring residential uses and rural uses on the north side, the east side, and then on the west side across the road on Maybell. The minimum lot size and the setbacks required in the C4A zone are higher than those, or larger than those that would be required in C4. The applicants have provided a letter that's dated December 18th, 2023, that's outlined their rezoning application. That letter is included in the as additional background that's provided in the development proposal information package, which again is available at the back of the room or linked online. The applicants do not have a specific commercial use that's proposed at this time. They intend to rezone to the new C4A district that would allow a range of retail-focused commercial uses and then to market property for future commercial uses by the new owner. The Cherry Creek OCP designates development permit area on this property that I want to quickly highlight. Development permit area 3, objectives for forming character, establishes guidelines for the overall aesthetic of commercial development along the highway corridor. So any future commercial development or building on this property would require a development permit application that would come here to the ACRD that would consider the form and character and overall look of the buildings, vegetation screening and buffering from the neighboring residential uses, landscaping along the highway and adjacent to the neighboring residential uses as well, access and egress from the site, parking, signage, and then lighting as well. And I think the last thing I'll highlight on access, there is road access in this property from both Maybell Road on the west side and from Old Nanaimo Highway on the east side, which would avoid the need to provide any direct access to the highway. However, as the property lies within 800 meters of a controlled access highway, the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure does need to approve the bylaw in accordance with the Transportation Act prior to the board considering this bylaw for adoption. So if this bylaw proceeds to the adoption stage, the Ministry of Transportation has to sign off on it before the ACRE can review. I'll also highlight that the ministry will require a commercial access permit for any future commercial uses at the site that would consider mitigating impacts such as road safety and traffic as well. So the ministry has the final authority on how commercial uses access roads in the rural areas and also the highway directly. And I think I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Would the applicant like to add anything?
Sure, I can just go through and try to address some of the issues that are highlighted in some of these letters, if you like, at this point. Yeah. I'd like to thank everybody for coming first off to the meeting tonight. So we have a first letter here from Venetia. I don't know if that's how you say it. And she addresses that she is not liking the fact that we're going to be changing these from a residentially zoned lot to a commercial lot. I'd just like to point out to everybody that it's not currently zoned residential. It's zoned winery cidery, and the current does not have residential use. The second letter from, this is from Edie Penner. Yeah. Okay. She brings up a lot of issues with traffic along Maybell Road, and as Alex just mentioned, there is two accesses to the property off Old Nanaimo Highway and Maybell, and we are willing to work with planning staff or the Ministry of Transportation to remove the access off Maybell and just have the one access off Old Alberni Highway if that's what MOT decides is best. The third letter from Kurt and Thelma Elkjay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
There's mention of fencing in your note here. Again, I think that's something like Alex mentioned earlier that will be dealt with at the development permit stage with the future owner. We have no intention to develop this property further beyond what it is and just wish to market it. And that's about all I have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now we're going to hear from the members of the public. Please wait to be recognized by me and state your name and address before beginning. All participants have been asked to abide by the social accountability and respectful language guidelines, including in the sign-in sheet. Anyone who incites harm towards other participants will be asked to leave the direction of the chair. Would anyone like to speak?
Yeah, I'm Kurt Elkjay, my wife Thelma, and we are lot 3 adjacent to and backing the property. My concern is, number one, is we want to make sure there is at least an 8-foot privacy or whatever fence from said property. And we are not pleased with the idea that you're going to leave it to some new developer to clean up. I asked this gentleman on an occasion, I says, along our property on his side, there's numerous blackberries. There are quaking aspens, which are highly aggressive. There are a number of blackberries and broom. And then in the back access, he has, I'm not sure if it's legal or whatever, but it's the septic system. And I put up 7-foot of fence, and I have trees, and I've got blackberries, and I got every other damn thing growing onto my property, which I maintain very, very nicely, if everybody knows. I did request at one time from Evan, I says, I would appreciate if you would clean up or help clean up your fence line and whatnot, which he gave some thought to and said, I personally don't give a F, and walked away. So that's why I'm concerned about the property line. It's just commercial and it's private. By all means, let it do. I have no more to say.
I'm Thelma. Oh, sorry. Oh, mine? Okay. Oh, this one has to be off then. Yeah. Yeah, since we are adjacent to the property, we're not quite sure with our value because these properties were sold by Evan to us. We're concerned about what's going to be on it upfront, so we know what to do. And on the highway going to Nanaimo and Victoria, you can see where the provincial and the municipal put up these concrete buffers for noise and pollution to come on our side. So that's what we're really concerned about. If it's commercial, yes, but if it's going to be an eyesore, what about us?
I'd be happy to just highlight the development permit guidelines that we have in there. So the Cherry Creek OCP, as I'd mentioned, has guidelines around things like landscaping and fencing and screening, and you know, that's to reflect that this is the primary access into the Alberni Valley and presents the first impression for tourists and residents entering the community. So we take that very seriously in terms of what that development would look like. Specifically on the landscape screening and the vegetation, the OCP calls for a 3-meter buffer, so it'd be a 10-foot wide buffer of solid vegetation. It also mentions solid screening where appropriate as well. So, you know, it would depend on the nature of the commercial use, but we would be looking at any combination of a minimum 3-meter wide buffer and a solid fence if that's appropriate. I don't know if it would be 8 feet tall or you know what that would look like. We would have to regulate that through the development permit process, and again, it would depend on the scale of the commercial development. I will also highlight that the C4A zone has an increased building setback on that side as well. So rather than 6 meters, it was increased to a 10-meter buffer. So no building could be within 10 meters of that lot line on that is shared between your property and this property, and also on the properties to the north and the east of you as well. So, you know, the intention of the zone is to mitigate some of those impacts on the neighbors, and then the development permit really provides the direction for what the actual development will look like. But again, we have to wait for that, you know, that future developer to come up with the plans and to make the application to us, and then we can consider it in conjunction with the OCP. So just want to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do you have any further questions? No? Okay. Any more questions? No? All right. So you already responded. So far ahead of this game. So no, do you want to make any more comments, or are you good? Are you good to go? Sure. Show me.
Further to that, I'd just like to also address that another immediate adjacent property owner there, Don Dumont, has also brought support for this application. And finally, I think we wish that this request, this application move forward. It appears we have staff support that aligns with the OCP verbiage that supports the expansion and location of highway and tourist commercial uses in the vicinity of the junction of the Alberni and Port Alberni highways. So we've met that. And also we've met the Cherry Creek Advisory Panel support to move this forward. So thank you.
Thank you for that. So nobody else wants to talk? That's good. Okay, please be advised that members of the board of directors cannot receive new information related to this bylaw between the end of this hearing and making the final decision on the bylaw. If any board member does so, the hearing could be invalidated and would have to be held again. With that in mind, does anyone have any final comments? I call for the first time for any further representation on this bylaw. I call for the second time for any further representation on this bylaw. Yes.
Why not consider Evan residential? In keeping with the it,
I don't believe the town wants residential along the highway. Their guiding is for commercial along the four.
On the Johnson Road Board.
okay.
And just before we move on, if I see there's nobody online, there's no attendees, and there's no comments, but if you are watching the live stream and you wanted to, you're waiting to join, then please do so now. But otherwise, I don't see any
Right.
comments here online.
I've heard anything about online.
And I think as staff, I don't think we have anything else to add. Yeah, we can get next.
All right, go back to it. With that in mind, does anybody have any final comments? No. I call for the first time for any further representations on the bylaws. I call for the second time for any further representations on the bylaws. I call for the third time any representations on the bylaws. Hearing no further